Welcome to Austin, Texas. We're here at the Rivian space in downtown Austin. I want to draw your attention to this very special vehicle. This is the new Rivian R3X. It is the highest powered variant in the R3, R2 platform based off a tri-motor powertrain. It's got all kinds of cool features that we're going to get into, so let's take a look. So not too long ago, when the Rivian R2 was unveiled down in Laguna Beach at the beautiful South Coast Theater, there was a couple of surprises that RJ brought to the public that people were not expecting. Of course, everybody was showing up to view the beautiful midsize R2 Rivian, but what they didn't see coming was the hatchback R3 that rolled out right behind it. And the one more thing, the big surprise.
But there's one more thing. One more thing. And looking at R3, we wanted to take everything that's embodied and put it into an even higher performance package. And this is something we call R3X.
A tri-motor powertrain. Can you imagine the just incredible hundreds and hundreds of horsepower in this vehicle? It's got beefier suspension. It sits on a higher ride height, and they've upgraded the wheels and tires. This is for off-road capabilities. We've got upgraded wheels. They've wide-bodied the R3. It's incredible. Now, one of the important things that Rivian did not overlook was aerodynamics. They wide-bodied the vehicle, but they actually maintained the aerodynamics. There's actually air vents and pass-throughs on both the front and the rear of each fender, both on the front end of the vehicle and the back side. And the fact is that the aero hasn't changed all that much from the regular R3. So again, you're not going to lose too much range. Of course, the bigger tires will use a little bit more energy, but hey, if you want to play, you got to pay, right? The interior of this vehicle was inspired by our friend, Gear Guard Gary. I love this guy. It's so great. He's got this kind of orange colored fur that is our leather interior. We have orange accents on the vehicle, so whether it be stitching or on the mirror caps or the front tow hooks, the recovery hooks, and of course that is his orange vest. And you can see his shorts here, beautiful coastal blue. We've got the paint here, just absolutely gorgeous. This was originally inspired by a very beautiful place in, I believe it was Mambia, and it's where the ocean meets the sand, the beach, and you just have this kind of mesh of these two beautiful colors and textures coming together. That was the inspiration for the color palette here on the R3X. Now, one of the other things you'll notice right away is the top roof rails. Now, these are capable of being used on any Rivian product. So they're gonna fit on your R1S, R1T, and R2 product in addition to the R3. So that's great. And if you're a Rivian owner already, then you'll know that you can just pop them on your R3. One of the other unique features of the R3X is on the back here. It's got a huge wing, that aerodynamic spoiler. And again, that's enhancing the aeroflow, the ability for it to pass through the air and reducing turbulence behind the vehicle, because we do have that hatchback design. And so it's gonna bring air up and over rather than curling and causing a little bit of wind buffeting on the back end of the vehicle. Of course, up front, we have the large frunk. Now, being that this is a pre-production unit, so we're not going to be looking inside the frunk right now, but suffice it to say, if you've seen R1T or R1S, Rivian knows what to do with a frunk. So that is going to be a great place to store gear, put your cooler for whatever your next adventure might be. One of the other really cool things that you probably already noticed is that in the seats here, you have these kind of anodized silver rings. The top two are done in the orange accent, and they've got a little bit of like a black mesh inside of them. And what that allows the seat to do is to breathe with its ventilation system. And so while they look really cool and they are inspired by the stadium headlamp of pretty much the entire R lineup, they're actually going to blow cool air on your backside when you're cruising through the Baja Desert in your Baja machine. One of the other cool things on this vehicle is the sport-inspired steering wheel. So we've got not only a flat bottom steering wheel, but a flat top. So it almost makes it into like a squircle, like a circle square. You've got that center locator right at the 12 o'clock mark there on the steering wheel as well. So when you're doing those quick maneuvers off-road, or you're going across the beach with the vehicle, you know exactly where you're at with your steering angle, which is really cool. Introducing the new thumb scroll wheels is something that is really exciting. I know there's a lot of R1T and R1S owners that would love to see that on the vehicle, and I'm sure that is slated to be integrated into those vehicles as well. But it was first introduced on the R2, R3 product, and the maneuverability and the capabilities of these programmable scroll wheels are really, really cool. They've got haptic feedback, and they've got all kinds of features that we've never seen in a vehicle before of any brand. Interior-wise, you've got all kinds of really unique features. Now, I went in depth with Ryan Patrick Joyce, one of the top designers with Rivian, on the R3 when I visited the R3 up in Vancouver, Canada at the Everything Electric show. And so you'll want to check out that video. We'll put a card for it up in the corner. Now, inside the R3X, I'm just going to kind of hover over some of the differences between the standard R3 and the R3X. What does the X give you versus the R3? And so we talked about those really cool seats. Very beautiful, very luxurious. Door panels here, we've got a woven leather type material on the door panel, so that gives you a little bit of three-dimensional texture. Very, very thoughtful. And then on the dash here, we have the use of multiple materials. So you've got kind of like that softer kind of leather-esque materials up top, and then on the bottom we've got the I believe it's cork, cork inlay here, which is absolutely gorgeous. Now on the R3 product, the dash splits kind of top to bottom, and so what they do here is they introduce this anodized metal clip on the side of the dash, and on the R3 you would have seen it in kind of like a darker metallic sort of pumpkin spice, I think we called it at that point in time. But here you've got a beautiful kind of teal, kind of aqua color that kind of separates the two halves of the dash and breaks that up. On the R3X, you have two displays. So people are loving the idea of the two displays. You've got that big center screen and the one behind the steering wheel. And of course, we know that Rivian is just doing phenomenal things with software. Shout out to the software team. The other thing that I want to draw your guys' attention to is the fact that there's no center console dividing the front and right side. And what that allows you to do is just hop in with your gear, your pack, your purse, whatever you've got. You can just drop it right down there, and it gives you, just a lot more space. Again, this is a smaller vehicle than the R1S and the R1T, and so to have additional interior space is kind of a huge bonus, really. Not only does this vehicle have one glove box, but it actually has two, and they slide out from underneath the dash. So again, lots of room for gear. No matter your lifestyle, if you got accessories for the pets or mountain climbing or whatever you're going to be doing, you can store it all in the R3X. So let's just get back to some of the differences here between R3 and R3X. Again, you've got the seat design that is distinctively different, the interior color palette, and it's a little more upscale, a little more luxurious. Coming out to the outside here, again, you've got that wide body, you've got the upgraded wheels, the beefier off-road tires, the increased ride height. So this vehicle has a better approach angle, a better departure angle, and a higher breakover angle underneath the vehicle. So when you're crawling over those boulders or curbs or whatever you're doing, you're not going to scrape anything underneath as you would in one of the lower vehicles. Recovery hooks, the big tow hooks on the front, those are done in the really cool orange color as well, so you can throw a strap on and help pull somebody out of the mud or whatever you're doing out in the wilderness. This thing also has the NACS plug. Now, if you're looking back here in the rear quarter, you'll see they're like, hey, there's no charge port. Well, there will be. So right now on this pre-production vehicle, it's on the passenger side, but we do have confirmation from the Rivian team that they've decided to move it over to the side here, similar to where Tesla and some of the other manufacturers have positioned their charge port, because of course we know that Rivian and Tesla have partnered together to allow use of the supercharger network for all Rivian vehicles. Now, the Rivian R2 is going to be the first vehicle in the Rivian lineup that's going to be available with a native NACS charge port, which is the North American charging standard, and that's what Tesla developed, and it's a much smaller, easier to handle cable, which is going to make charging so much easier. So for those that don't have the native NACS charge port in the Rivian vehicle, Rivian has made available adapters so they're able to use the Tesla charging network as well. I was recently on a road trip going across through some of the southern US, and pretty much at every single supercharger I stopped at, I saw either a Rivian R1S or Rivian R1T charging up, and each of those owners said that they're just loving the network and it's really increased the usability of their vehicle. Now, what's cool about Rivian, what I love about Rivian is they are developing their own charging network, the Rivian Adventure Network. The other thing that Rivian is doing is they're building out a range of unique locations called Rivian Charging Outposts. And what those are allowing people to do as owners is, of course, connect with the local communities, get in there, get refreshed, get the doggy some water, and of course, charge up your vehicle. Now, I visited the Rivian Charging Outpost in Yosemite National Park in a place called Groveland.
Well, we made it here to beautiful Yosemite National Park. This is Groveland, the gateway to Yosemite.
And it was so cool. They recreated this really old building, very, very thoughtful in as far as taking the concept of what that location used to be. Of course, it was a blacksmith shop way back in the 1800s, then became a gasoline vehicle repair shop and a gas station, I should say, as well. And now it is a electric vehicle refueling station. So it's really cool kind of to see the change in transportation over the years, and make sure you check out that location. What's cool is Rivian's gonna be building those out in very thoughtful locations across the country. Fingers crossed that we'll get some locations in Canada. I already submitted my wish list to Rivian and the team there, so maybe we'll see some up in Squamish, British Columbia, and places like that, but fingers crossed. This vehicle here would be right at home in some of those locations, those super adventurous locations. Actually, I just remembered that Joshua Tree actually is gonna be opening soon with their location. Looking forward to that. Now, getting back to R3X, this vehicle here is one that I know a lot of people are waiting for. The high-powered powertrain and the fun ergonomic drive, and it's really fitting a niche that nobody's in right now. Nobody has an off-road capable vehicle that's super high horsepower, super high fun, but also super high utility. The wonderful thing about electric vehicles is that you can have a high performance vehicle without having high maintenance costs. You're not having $300-400 oil changes and all the other nonsense that comes along with a lot of combustion engines, especially high performance ones, because it seems to be that the more performance you get out of a gasoline vehicle, the more maintenance they need, the more finicky they can get. But that's just simply not the case with an electric vehicle. And so with the R3X, you're able to have your cake and eat it too. You're gonna be able to rip through the desert, but also commute to work for really pennies when you're charging at home. The ability to refuel the vehicle, of course, it doesn't need regular oil changes and a lot of the maintenance, spark plugs and all the rest of it like you would have on a traditional gas car, but you can have this crazy high horsepower tri-motor vehicle that's just gonna absolutely crush on the streets or off-road. So the Rivian R3X is a 5-passenger vehicle, so you've got room for all your friends. It's got a huge trunk with the opening hatchback, and I believe this one also has the split glass that opens up independently of that tailgate as well. That's another feature that I'm fingers crossed is gonna make it to production. Of course, we gotta keep in mind that this is a pre-production, it's a production intent vehicle, but it's not in its 100% final form. So I'm sure there's gonna be a few little tweaks that the Rivian team is gonna put on it, obviously to make it better to manufacture, make it more affordable for everybody, and make it more dependable. So that's the team's mandate, and of course we're gonna know they're gonna carry through on that, because we've seen just how wonderful and how loved the Rivian R1 product is. So it's not a stretch of the imagination to know that the R3, R3X, and R2 are gonna become very loved by their owners as well. So we're back here at the rear of the R3X, and you can see the cool badging that they've got here. But one of the Rivian team members pointed out a really cool little detail, and she said she had never seen it in a video, so we're gonna make sure it's in this one. And that is the 3-dimensional raised lettering here. This is the R, and you can see the side of it right here. It's actually painted the body color. It's not black, even though the way the lighting drops on it makes it look like it's black or maybe a little bit of a different color, but it is the actual paint color itself, which is really cool. What I love about Rivian is they are super embracing and all-encompassing of the whole family. So we've got lots of fun stuff in here for kids and the kids within the adults and our furry friends as well. So with every R3X, we know we're gonna have the pet mode, so it's gonna be able to have the air conditioning on or heat on or whatever needs to be done to keep your furry friends comfortable. So there's all those great features that we know Rivian is gonna bring and migrate from the R1 product and inject them into the R2 and R3. The R3X is the one I'm waiting for. As soon as orders open up, you know my name is going on that list. But in the meantime, R2 is available for order right now. You can head over to Rivian's website. I'll put a link for it down in the description, and you can lock in your Rivian R2. Very similar form factor, but it's going to have even more space in the back because you have that squared off tail end. Very similar. I think of it as like a mini Rivian R1S, and so that's going to be available first. We're super excited for that. I'm going to have a video coming out on that vehicle as well. Can't wait to see where Rivian goes with the product. Guys, thanks so much for watching. We'll see you in the next video.